Hello and welcome. In this video, I want to give you a few more simple strategies for how you can manage emotions in the moment. Now remember that every time you get emotionally activated, you strengthen the neurology associated with fight, flight, or even freeze response. And the more you use that side of your nervous system, the stronger that gets, which means you become less and less resilient, because the relaxation side of the nervous system, the ventral vagus nerve, gets weaker and weaker. And this sooner or later impacts your physical health, for sure. So for that reason, it makes sense to be diffusing any emotional energy that activates those survival states on a regular basis, rather than let it build up and weaken you psychologically and physically. So you may find that sometimes you get angry or fearful, for example, and by using the technique, you deal with it and it goes away. That can happen. However, most of the time, unless you address your triggers and the root causes that I keep going on about, you will use these techniques, you get rid of whatever undesirable emotional state in the moment, and then you get triggered again, so it comes back. But again, it still makes sense to keep diffusing that emotional energy on a regular basis and not let it build up, for sure. The most important thing to remember is that emotions are energy, as I said before, and they are never still or stagnant. Energy is dynamic and emotions are dynamic. Our emotional states always fluctuate and change. Okay, so it's important to keep bringing yourself back to that fact. The worst thing that most people do, and then obviously they get frightened that they can't cope with it, is when they create resistance and attachment. I guarantee that if you feel an emotion, you observe what you're feeling, you connect with it, and you say to yourself, it's okay for me to feel this, whatever it is. And then you let yourself feel it without resisting or attaching any narratives to it, any stories. You will move through it, or it will move through you. That energy will move through you. 100%. It's not going to stick around. The only reason why emotions ever stick around is because people create attachment and resistance. If you keep saying you don't want to feel something, or you create a story around it, or you attach what you're feeling to an old memory or a future projection, you are making it stick around by doing that. So really, the number one rule of emotional work is to be okay with what you feel rather than fear it. We do not need to fear emotions. It's just energy. That's all it is. It's constantly fluctuating, constantly moving. There's constant flow there. So you might as well go with that flow rather than against the flow. That's basically what a lot of people do with emotions. They fear them and they go against the flow of energy. So if you feel it, you let it be what it is. You don't judge, you just let it be what it is. Whatever it is, it's fine. You then feel it deeply. You go, okay, yeah, I feel you, I see you, I notice you. I'm good with feeling this. And now I'm choosing to let it go. You will watch it dissipate in that moment, Like I said, if this is attached to some sort of bigger trauma or some limited beliefs or poor self-worth, it will probably come back, but in that moment, it will dissipate. You can actually use different visualizations to help you discharge that energy in the moment. So for example, you can imagine it's leaving your body through your feet, and it's being picked up and recycled by the earth, or that it's leaving your body through your fingertips, or through the pores in your skin, or through your breath as you exhale, whatever works for you. And when you have increased your emotional intelligence, feeling things is a lot less scary. And when that happens, when you have that emotional intelligence and emotional awareness, and it becomes less scary to feel, you will create a lot less resistance. You will stop creating resistance because you no longer will be petrified of feeling stuff. And that in itself will mean that you will be able to just process emotions on an ongoing basis and just let them work through you and let them go easier. It's going to be a lot easier. But for now, I want you to start to approach what you feel with curiosity rather than fear. Have that childlike curiosity around your emotions and experiment with connecting with feeling what you're feeling and visualizing it leaving your body if it's something that you don't want to stick around. Another method for dealing with emotional overwhelm in the moment is my SCC technique, which stands for stop, change state, and counter. It's very simple. This technique is great for, like I said, dealing with emotional overwhelm on the spot, or also for stopping any negative thoughts that you may get stuck with. Because with this technique, you can quickly derail any destructive negative thought process by putting your brain on a different track and utilizing different neural pathways. And those two things obviously go together, because when you have emotional overwhelm, then most people will, until they learn not to do that, will actually attach narratives, like I said, attach stories, recall memories, have negative self-talk around what they're feeling. So with this technique, like I said, you can derail that, you can stop that in the moment by making some conscious choices and conscious decisions and taking action on this. And the more you do this, the more you break down the old neural pathway. So don't forget that the more you use these sort of techniques, even though they are just about helping you in the moment, really, but the reality is that if you use them a lot, you will be pruning, as we say, those old neural pathways. When they are not used anymore, they get pruned. And so over time, you can recondition your nervous system. You get better and faster at stopping those negative thoughts or stopping emotional overwhelm before you spiral out of control. So even for that reason, it's worth engaging with these techniques and use them over and over and over again. So here's how this particular technique works. So that's stop, change state, counter, SCC. So first of all, you remind yourself that what you are feeling is transient. Always remind yourself, emotional energy is dynamic, it's transient. You then accept where you are in that moment and you say to yourself, stop. Stop resisting, accept where you are. And when you say to yourself, stop, you imagine a red stop sign in front of you, just like right in your face, stop. So you stop, and right after you change state. So this is to put your brain on a different track. So what do I mean by change state? This can be anything. This can be physical movement. So you can jump up and down on the spot. You can do a few squats. You can throw your arms in the air, whatever. You can, spin around, whatever you do to actually engage your brain differently as you're doing this movement. You can also, if you say you can't actually do anything physical, you can sing or hum a tune. You can also do some mathematical problems in your head. So you can say, okay, 54 plus 76 plus 18, you can just do that, or subtraction, or whatever, multiplication, whatever you want to do, doesn't matter. Just to, again, stimulating different parts of the brain to take you somewhere else, rather than going on and on and on the loop with those negative thoughts or negative self-talk or self-destructive type thoughts, or whatever it is. And then finally you counter whatever negative thoughts accompanied your state in the first place, and you counter that with some positive affirmations. So I suggest that you counter with an affirmation that directly kind of cancels that original negative thought. If your original thought, for instance, was, I am feeling stressed, you stop, you change state, and you then counter with repeating a few times, I am calm, I am relaxed, I'm at ease, I'm in control, or something like that, yeah? And then as you're doing the affirmational bit, you want to, if you can, you bring havening in at this point as well. And you do that for a minute or two. This is very effective. So now another technique that I want to share with you. So this time I would like you to close your eyes and take a few deeper breaths. If you can, inhale through your nose into your belly, and then slowly exhale through your mouth as though you're blowing out through a straw. And just one more time. Breathe in deeply and slowly, and then exhale fully, very slowly. And then go back to normal, easy breathing, and bring to mind a situation, thing, or person that is triggering a specific emotion that you want to discharge. So don't think about anything life-shattering for now. Just think of a thing, of a person or a situation, something that is triggering to you, and it brings out a specific emotion, maybe fear, maybe anger, maybe shame, maybe disgust, maybe sadness. So obviously, if you experience something in the moment, you would use that in the moment. But right now, I want you to maybe recall something that is or has been triggering for you. And have that situation, that person, thing, just have it spin away from you until it's on the other side of the country. Just have it spin away from you. Zoot, spinning away from you to the other side of the country. And now you just imagine it in the distance, very, very, very far away, in black and white, and it's very tiny. It's like tiny, 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 size of an ant, size of a, tiny grain of sand. It's very tiny, away from you, and it's black and white. And now imagine a big number 1 halfway between you and that, whatever it is that triggered you to have this emotion. The 1 is large, and it is green, and it smells of grass. Now imagine a big number 2, yellow, warm, feels like when you're standing in the sun on a sunny day, and you get that warmth. That's what this big 2 that is now in between you and that, whatever it is that triggered you. Yellow and warm. And now number 3 shows up in between you and that person, thing, situation. And that 3 is orange and smells of fresh oranges. And now big number 4 shows up. This big number 4 is in between you and that person, situation, thing on the other side of the country. And it's ice blue and it feels cold. And now number 5 pops up in between you and that person, thing, situation on the other side of the country. That 5 is huge between you and that tiny thing. And it's red and it smells of roses. And now number 6 pops up. It's even bigger. And it is made and it tastes of chocolate. And now number 7. Imagine number 7 popping up right between you and that thing, person, situation on the other side of the country that is just like tiny, 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 and it's just drifting into insignificance now. And on that number 7, you've got water running down. It's like a water fountain or like a little waterfall, something like that. And you can feel the light spray of those tiny droplets on your face, and a warm breeze carries those water droplets towards you. It's nice and pleasant. And now big number 8, and this time it's lilac and it smells of lavender, halfway between you and that tiny, tiny thing that you've now forgotten about what it was really, about. Number 9 now shows up, and it's big. It's made up of plasticine of different colors of the rainbow that you can mold, and you can like touch it and mold it. And then finally, you see number 10 in between you and that thing, person, situation. And that 10 is huge, and it's made up of mirrors. And it's really reflective, and there's different lights bouncing away. And it's just a nice thing to look at. And now take a few deeper breaths. And again, bring in back to the body. And just, again, you want to tune in to how you feel about that thing, situation, person. And just check on that emotional energy associated with it or with them. Notice how your negativity has been taken away and how you can now think more clearly. So with this method, you can use it again in the moment when you feel emotionally activated. Maybe you have a situation at work and somebody really rattles you, and then you need to excuse yourself and even go to the bathroom for a couple of minutes and run through this visualization. Again, it engages your brain in so many different ways. You don't have to follow it exactly like I said. You can make up your own version of it. But just engage all the senses. And you find that you will really put distance between you and that person or that situation that triggered you, and you will feel differently.